Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host with the biggest nose, Jay-Z Courtside, coming at y'all today on Wednesday, July 15th. My apologies if the camera angle is just a little bit different today. It should be close to the same. I accidentally knocked my camera full off my desk yesterday. It's not the first time I've done that. It's not the second time I've done that. It won't be the last time I do that. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on in. As you guys can see by the title, in today's episode, there's really not much NBA news going on unless you want me to talk 30 minutes about Zaire Williams signing with the Los Angeles Lakers and the Kawhi Leonard investigation still being active for now over a year. Today's episode is going to be centered around the Beantown Boys, the Boston Celtics. Now, we already talked about the Atlanta Hawks in our last podcast. I got to upload that as this video itself. But in today's episode, we are going to be discussing the Boston Celtics. We don't really have any NBA news to talk about. So I thought we may as well just continue with one of our many series that we're going to be doing out throughout the summer. So guys, be sure to subscribe, follow, do all that, like the show, leave a 5-star rating and review on the if you guys are a podcast listener. We have a lot of stuff coming this summer, like ranking positions for NBA players, ranking the players in their positions for NBA players. And then going through all the teams and doing my predictions that way. Okay. In today's episode, we are discussing none other than the Boston Celtics. All right. So guys, be sure to sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee and energy drink and enjoy today's show. Appreciate all of y'all for coming through. As always, let's get started talking about the Boston Celtics. Now, obviously, they had their biggest move a couple weeks ago when they traded Jaylen Brown. And of course, as you guys know, today's podcast is going to be the shortest one we've probably ever done. So just brace yourselves. They traded Jaylen Brown and they had a couple other moves. So let's talk about everything as a whole that the Boston Celtics have done this summer. First of all, with their number 27 pick, they drafted Chris Senak Jr. out of Houston. He's viewed as a long-term development project. And then in the second round, they got Dylan Mitchell from St. John's. He should be competing for minutes pretty early on. And then, obviously, they traded Jaylen Brown coming off of his best season of his entire career for Paul George, who's a couple $1 million cheaper than Jaylen Brown is and a year shorter than his contract. On top of that, they got a pick coming from Philly, which is owned by the Clippers. They got an unprotected 2031 first-round pick from Philly. And, of course, they've traded for 2 future second-round picks. But, guys, second-round picks get moved around more. They get moved around so much. Let's talk about the free agency signings. They got Mitchell Robinson. He signed a 3-year, $47.4 million deal from the New York Knicks. They got Mike Conley. He signed to a 1-year veteran minimum deal. They extended Neemias Queta. He signed a 4-year, $56 million extension. And then they're exercising team options for Jordan Walsh and Delano Banton. Now, the center, Nikola Vucevic, who they traded for in the middle of the season for Anthony Simons, they allowed him to walk. He is now on the Orlando Magic. Anthony Simons was traded away, obviously, for Vucci. And then they lost a couple minimum salary players like Max Shulga. Now, I do want to remind you guys all about something very important because I feel like not a lot of people know this. I'm going to talk briefly about cap space just to remind you guys how that works. So the salary cap for every NBA team right now is $165 million. The luxury tax is $201 million. So luxury tax, any money spent above that, it's coming straight out of the owner's pockets. The first apron, there's some penalties, some hard caps, and you're paying extra taxes on players. That's at $209 million. And then, of course, as we all know, the dreaded second apron, $222 million. There's only one team in the NBA last year that was in the second apron, and that was the Cleveland Cavaliers. And, of course, the second apron has some crazy punishments, a bunch of things that, you get penalized for as far as, like, aggregating contracts and whatnot. That's why you don't want to enter the second apron. Now, we'll talk about the second apron a little bit later and that specifically. But for now, I want to stay on the Boston Celtics topic. With their salary going in next season, they are hard capped underneath their first apron. Okay. Now, of course, they shedded everybody's contracts that they didn't like, Drew Holiday, Tingus Pingus. But the thing is, their top 3 guys are being paid, I believe it's 88% of their salary, which is not great. That's Jason Tatum, Paul George, and Derek White. They are at almost exactly $201 million. Now, as I just told you, The luxury tax is 201 million. 201 million. So they can only afford a veteran minimum contract without going over the luxury tax. Now, I just told you they still are under, they're hard capped at their first apron. So if they were to get one more deal, they can bring in an $8 million player, but that's all they can do. They can't go over that first apron. They are hard capped at that. Now, they do have some trade exemptions that they could utilize. They have, let me get this right. They have 27 million from the Anthony Simons trade, which expires at the 2027 deadline. And then they also have 8 million from the Gorgie Niang trade, as well as the 4.7 million from the Holiday trade. And they have the non-payer mid-level exception for $15 million, which they can't use because they would be under their first apron, which is not good. That's not good. So they can't use that. Let's talk about the Boston Celtics in general, because as you guys know, I like to talk about who they are, what they got, and where they're going. Okay. So the Boston Celtics last year, as we all remember, they were projected to be a play-in team. And obviously, as we all know, they surpassed that. They ended up being the second seed last year. And by doing so, they sort of screwed themselves. People don't want to admit it, but the Beantown boys, they screwed themselves by playing so well. Now, every team, unfortunately, is going to be facing the same problem as the Boston Celtics. I think we can all agree they did not want to trade Jaylen Brown. They didn't. Nobody wanted them to trade Jaylen Brown. But unfortunately, because of the second apron, they were sort of forced. So I'm going to say this, and I hope this resonates with everybody. And I, definitely take this to conversations that you have with other ball knowers. But right now is the worst time in the NBA to be the second star on a basketball team. That right now, there is no time worse than right now to be the second star on a basketball team. They just traded Jaylen Brown. He was their second star. The Denver Nuggets were shopping Jamal Murray. He's their second star on a huge contract. And then you have guys like Jalen Duren, or I would argue Asar Thompson. It sucks right now to be the second star on a team. Look at the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're going to have to make a move, whether it's Chet Holmgren or J-Dub next season or the following season. Right now, when you look at all of these teams and you look at Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, one of them is going to have to go, whoever they determine the second star is. The Boston Celtics, it was their time because of the second apron. So if you're the second and or third best player on a team and you didn't win, you're on the chopping block. That's just point blank period, the way it is now. If the Celtics won, they keep Jaylen Brown. The New York Knicks, if they lost, Karl-Anthony Towns was gone. They don't have to worry about that because they won. So right now, the Scottie Pippins of the NBA are in the worst position they've ever been in NBA history. So speaking on that note, Jaylen Brown, obviously, he was looking for the extension from the Boston Celtics. They weren't willing to do it, thus creating the trade in which they sent for Paul George. Now, Paul George does have a player option next season for $56.5 million. And of course, that is a lot of money. That is a lot of money. But at the same time, it's much less than what Jaylen Brown was demanding for his contract extension. Let's talk about why the Boston Celtics struggled going into the playoffs. Let's talk about that. So first and foremost, we're going to start with the third guy in the pecking order of this basketball team. Let's talk about Derek White. Now, last year, especially at the start of the season, I told you all, Derek White does not look right. I didn't mean to rhyme right there, but I did. He doesn't look right. Let's go ahead and I'm going to show you his regular season stats from last year. He averaged 16.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, which is great. But his field goal percentage, bro, his field goal percentage. Do you want a comparison? Like an actual comparison to his field goal? He shot 39% from the field. From the field, not from the three-point land. He shot 39% from the field. On top of that, he shot 32.5% from three. 32.5. And I believe this is on like 6 or 7 attempts. Never mind, 8.5 attempts. And he shot 32.5% from three. Okay. That was the regular season. Surely he got better in the playoffs, right? Ladies and gentlemen, not only did every stat of his get worse, they got significantly worse. His scoring dropped by 5 points a game. His rebounding dropped by a rebound a game. His assists dropped by 2. His minutes went up by 1 minute. He only shot 32%. Now hold for a second. From the field. And he shot 27% from 3. I have to repeat myself again. He shot 32% from the field and 27% from 3. This man is being paid $30 million. Next year, $32.6 million. The following year, $35 million. If you are bringing numbers like that, your team is not a championship contending team. If this is your third guy on your team and he's shooting 32% and 27% from 3, you're not going anywhere. Derek White was abysmal last year. And I don't know what's going on with his shooting, but he's 32. He just turned 32 2 weeks ago. And I'd like to think that his shooting can still jump back up. Shooting is not really something that you can lose as an NBA player when you have been proven to be a shooter. And yet he's doing his best Asar Thompson impression from 3. And that's not good. You cannot win if your third best player is shooting that bad of splits. Like, guys, these are Killian Hayes splits. These are Killian Hayes splits. I'm talking prime Killian Hayes. But Killian Hayes is only making $4 million a year. You can't be doing Killian Hayes things on the basketball court and you're making $34 million a year. You can't. So that's number 3. Let's talk about their number 2. And all due respect, their number 2 was Jason Tatum. We all knew that going into the playoffs, that Jason Tatum is going to be their number 2. Now, you know what? Do I do it? I'm going to save Jason Tatum. Instead, I'm going to go straight to Jaylen Brown. Now, Jaylen Brown's playoff numbers were not bad statistically. He shot 45% from the field, which is a dip, but he went up to 40.5% from 3. Now, that's solid, right? His scoring dipped a little bit. His rebounding dipped a little. His assists dipped a little. Every one of his stats dipped. Playoffs, it's okay. You guys choked a 3-1 lead. You understand. It was Jaylen Brown just playing iso ball. Now, I want to talk about Jason Tatum. Now, Jason Tatum is what I call a true professional. As you guys know, he came back a couple weeks prior to the NBA playoffs starting. And when he came back, he was averaging 21.8 points per game, 10 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 1.5 steals, and he was shooting 41% from the field and under 33% from 3. Well, he's a playoff riser for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. His scoring jumped, his rebounding jumped, his assists jumped, his steals jumped, his field goal percentage jumped, and his 3-point percentage jumped. Every single one of Jason Tatum's stats jumped come playoff time. He averaged 23.5 points, almost 11 rebounds, almost seven assists, and he shot 47.5% from the field, which is a 6% jump, and then 36.5% from 3, which is a 4% jump. Jason Tatum, he led in the playoffs. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is we all saw what failed this team. It was ball hogging moments from honestly a couple guys, Peyton Pritchard, Jaylen Brown. They were just taking turns and they were forgetting that Jason Tatum was on their basketball team. And of course, they didn't have a competent center to compete with healthy Joel Embiid for 3 games. He was healthy for 3 games. Now, I want to talk about what they got in this trade and why I think where they're going may not be as bleak as a lot of people are trying to say. By the way, TikTok, if you guys are enjoying the stream and you guys want me to read your messages and you guys want to talk to me and my community, be sure to come through to the Twitch stream. That's JZ Uncut on Twitch. The link is in my bio. And of course, yeah, Tatum did not play in Game 7. Thank you. I want to talk about who they got because people are pretending that Paul George is some sort of bum. Okay. I want to talk about him very quickly. Now, as we all know, Paul George is old. He's 36. And in the regular season, he was suspended for 25 games. Okay. In the regular season, he averaged 17 and a half points, right? 5.5 rebound. Hold on. I'm unsure why this guy just got banned. It looked like he was just talking about, okay, hold on. Chat, I gotta take a quick time out. Yo, Ammo, why'd you ban that guy, bruh? He said, "Hey JC, how you been? My name used to be Brennan Demon till I changed it. I had an accident on 4th of July. An M80 blew in my hand. I'm still having trauma from it, but I'm okay, I guess. I'm looking for a speedy recovery." Why the hell did that dude get banned? He said, "Okay, your hand got blown up and you're banned." Okay. Um, whatever, Emma, whatever you want, my boy. That's fine. I don't know why Brody's pretending that like he really knows me. He hasn't come in stream in over a year. I think he's just going streamer to streamer right now and posting that same story. Hey man, hope your hand gets better. Stop beating your meat. Okay, anyways. Paul George in the regular season, 17 and a half points, 5.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, almost 2 steals. He shot 44% from the field and 39% from three. And I got to talk about Paul George real quick. Paul George in the playoffs leveled up. Like, honestly, leveled up beyond belief. All right? He fits the Boston Celtics play style. He really fits the Boston Celtics play style. So, like, when people are talking about, oh, the Celtics are going to be ass, the Celtics are going to be horrible, I don't think they are. I don't think they are. Kate is going to improve. Vucci's gone, and they got Mitchell Robinson in place of him. And they got PG, who honestly fits their play style. All they need is like a playmaking guard, but honestly, they use Tatum for that. Paul George in the playoffs averaged 16 and a half points. I want you guys to hear this. 4 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal and a half a block. His defense was incredible. And listen to this. He shot 46% from the field and 50% from three. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul George's one singular job on this basketball team is going to be defense and spamming threes. That's all his role is going to be. And I hate to say it, it might look a little bit better than watching Jaylen Brown wave off Jason Tatum over and over and over again like he did last playoffs. I watched it. You watched it. Celtics fans, am I wrong by saying that? Every other play, Jaylen Brown would dribble, step back, push off, brick, over and over again. Meanwhile, the Jason Tatum minutes looked significantly better. The only issue is they had nobody for Embiid. They had nobody for Andre Drummond. And if you have nobody to guard Andre Drummond in 2026, I don't need to say it, but you're cooked. So all in all, I'll talk about my prediction for the Boston Celtics in just one moment. I do want to talk about what else they have. They do have a bunch of picks. They got their 27 pick. They got the pick in 28 from the Clippers. They don't have a pick in 29, but they have the 30 pick. They have 2 picks in 31, a pick in 32 that's frozen, and then a pick in 33. So they have about 6 to 7 first round picks, which is incredible for them. And then I want to show the statistic that one of my Boston Celtics fans loves spreading, and it's this one. On Data Baller, you can look at players' minutes when they're on the court and their minutes when they're off the court. And this is just Jaylen Brown. When he was on the court in the regular season, he played 2,234 minutes, and his team was better with him on the court by 6.7 points, which means when he was on the court, the Boston Celtics were outscoring teams by 6.7 points per game. When he was off the court for 1,200 minutes, the Boston Celtics were some reason better with him on the bench. In fact, 2 times better with Jaylen Brown on the bench. They were 13 points better than the opposing team when Jaylen Brown was on the bench. Now, you can take this with a grain of salt if you'd like. We all agree that when Jaylen Brown was on the court, the team was better, but the statistics tell you otherwise. Part of the reason is because of how nasty their bench is, and I fully agree with Butler in the Twitch stream. Their bench is really good. And it's not that difficult to understand why they were better with him on the bench. But now here's something that I would like to share. In the limited minutes that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown played together, it was under 300 minutes that season. They were better by 18 points per game than their opposing teams. And this is the part that hurts because we all know Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown works. It works. They won a championship 2 years ago. It works. They didn't want to do this. But unfortunately, you cannot pay a top 15 talent top 5 money. I've talked about this countless of times. But if a player is top 15, arguably, in the NBA, and you give him top 5 salary, it's not going to work. And as I said 15 minutes ago, there is no worse time to be a second star in the NBA than right now. And I know a lot of you guys are also wondering about the second apron. The second apron is BS. You guys have been hearing a lot about the second apron talk, especially as of late. And I do want to remind you, the second apron's final season, before it can be reviewed and changed, is the 2028-2029 NBA season. So in 3 years, exactly 3 years, they will be able to bargain a new agreement and try to come up with something better. Now, in my opinion, the second apron is going to stay, but I think they will alter it to help homegrown players like a Jaylen Brown, like a J-Dub, like a Chet Holmgren, guys like that. Players who were drafted to that team, you get a little bit of like a discount against the cap. So the player still gets the money that you're giving him, but it hits the cap at a lesser percent. And I think that's what a lot of people are arguing about right now. You can't do what the Golden State Warriors did. You can't do what the Bad Boys did. You can't do what the going to work Pistons did, what the Kobe Shaq Lakers did, what the Oklahoma City Thunder did. I'm talking the Kevin Durant, James Harden. You can't do any of that anymore. Jamal Murray, his time is nearing. J-Dub or Chet Holmgren, their time is nearing. Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle, their time is nearing. Which is crazy to say because they were drafted to these teams. So hopefully they do make a change and they make an adjustment for the second apron, but that's another topic for another day. For the Boston Celtics, I'm very curious what they have their over-under line. Over-under 2026-27 NBA season for teams. I won't be surprised if the Boston Celtics early over-under is like 48. If I were to guess, I'd say it's like 48 wins. I don't think that's a bad guess that ESPN's got them at. Let's see. I don't think they have the over-under lines public yet. Okay, well, when they do, we'll talk about it. But my guess is that it's probably like 47 or 48 wins. And honestly, I don't think that's too far-fetched. You still have a very, very good team. In fact, let me look at it real quick again. You got Jason Tatum making $58 million. You got Paul George making $54 million, which sucks, but it sucks less than the Jaylen Brown's extension was going to be. You got Derek White, who hopefully has a bounce back year. You got Mitchell Robinson off your backup big. You got Sam Hauser still, which I know Celtics fans sort of want him gone. You got fast PP Peyton Pritchard only making less than $8 million, which is a great deal. You got old man Mike Conley. You got Ron Harper Jr., who should see the court. You got Chris Sanek Jr., which is, he might not see the court, but he hopefully will compete for minutes. Hugo Gonzalez, Luka Garza, Baylor Baggins, Baylor Shireman, Neemias Queta, Jordan Walsh, and Amari Williams. They got a good squad, man. Are they top 4? I can be convinced. What if top 4 is 50 wins? What if top 4 is 50 wins? I could see that. Are they going to be top 6? I think that should be the floor. If Jason Tatum can remain healthy, I think their floor should be a play-in team. I think it should. I still have the Boston Celtics over. See, it's difficult because the Miami Heat, for example, I was going to say I have them over the Miami Heat, but matchup-wise, I got the Miami Heat better than the Celtics, matchup-wise. Like the Miami Heat, the Celtics have no answer for a Giannis Antetokounmpo. Um, but it should be interesting. It should be very interesting. I see a lot of the messages in the Twitch chat. People are guessing 52 and 30. Liam said 53 and 29. Yeah, I think these are pretty decent guesses. These are pretty decent guesses. Um, so my prediction for the Boston Celtics, they should be a playoff team. I think Paul George will bring a lot of shooting to this team. I think Paul George will help a lot when it comes to spacing the floor and playing good defensively. I don't know if you guys saw, but Jaylen Brown gave up on defense post All-Star break. Celtics fans, you guys can sit here and vouch for me. Jaylen Brown gave up on defense. It's like he came out and said, "I'm the best two-way player in the NBA," and then he proceeded to be one of the worst defending shooting guards in the entire NBA. So I don't know what happened, but honestly, I know they're going to mourn JB, but because of the second apron, they had to let him go. They had to let him go. I think the Boston Celtics are still going to remain a top six seed in the East, but they are worse than last year. How much worse? I guess we're gonna have to find out. Joe Mazzulla is still a great regular season head coach, and I think it's going to be an interesting year for the Boston Celtics. I still think that they could win anywhere between 48 and 52 wins. I really do. But that's pretty much all I have for the Boston Celtics, ladies and gentlemen. If anybody has any questions or concerns regarding the Boston Celtics, please feel free to shoot some questions, give me some comments on them, and we can close out today's podcast because unfortunately, this is all we have for y'all. There's no new NBA news. I'd love to hear it. I mean, yes, I agree. Jaylen Brown's care for the team was a little bit questionable. Absolutely. When JB is on, he can easily prove he's one of, if not the best two-way guards in the league. I fully agree. I think he's right there with Anthony Edwards, but unfortunately, neither one of them played defense in the second half of the year. Anthony Edwards didn't play defense at all season long. How are they going to be worse? They're going to be worse than they were last year because teams in the East simply got better and they lost Jaylen Brown, who carried them through the regular season. It's all going to depend on whether or not they slow roll Jason Tatum or they sort of just say, "Hey man, go for it." It's going to be very interesting. Yeah, if nobody else has any comments in the Twitch stream, I think that's going to do it for the episode. Some guy in the TikTok got very upset with me for not reading TikTok comments, but all he's doing is spamming Jalen Brunson's the GOAT, Knicks back-to-back finals. So that's very interesting. That's why I only read the Twitch stream. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's episode. Will Senat come off the bench this coming season? It'll be difficult to see, probably as a backup 4. That would be my guess. That will be my guess. Yeah, unfortunately, I apologize, everybody, but there's nothing going on around the NBA, so we just got to continue with our series of talking about each team and what they are, who they got, and where they're going. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's going to do it for today's episode. I told y'all it'd be very, very short today. Under 30 minutes. That's the shortest podcast we've done. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you all for tuning in TikTok. We are still live on Twitch if you guys would like to tune in. Like I said, we always read our Twitch chat. Next episode is going to be who's alphabetically next? Is it the Cleveland Cavaliers? I think it's the Cleveland Cavaliers. Let me check. So Friday's episode, oh no, it's the Brooklyn Nets and then the Charlotte Hornets. Okay, so that's going to be a twofer. We're going to do both teams in that episode. We're going to do both teams. There is no chance we're going to do a full stream on the Brooklyn Nets. We are going to be doing both teams. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's going to do it for y'all. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. TikTok, do exactly what the homie Nikki just did and come through to the Twitch stream. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's all I have for y'all today. We will be back Friday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern for our live podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for being you. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching / listening. And we'll be back Friday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. Appreciate y'all very, very much.